So how I came up with my podcast name, Not the Average Local Rapper. I came up with the name before I came up with the theme. Cause like I never consider myself a local rapper. I never wanted to be a local rapper, but at one point in time, I was put in that box. You know what I mean? Not by choice, but just by way of circumstances. Where I'm from, like it's a small town and shit, and I started rapping in like the early 2000s and shit. I think I started putting my music out there around like 2005 and shit. And it wasn't a whole lot of people rapping at that time. You know what I mean, in the area and shit. So and then the ones that was, they wasn't putting out music. At the volume that I was, man. Like I think I had came out the gate with like two or three mixtapes or some shit. Like and then people had already knew me before the rap shit. Like motherfuckers that grew up with me. Like people know my family and shit. They know I used to play ball and shit. So like it was really like a surprise to people. When they found out I rap, because I was always a quiet dude and shit. Didn't really say too much. You know what I'm saying? So it was like a surprise. But then once they started hearing it, it just kind of became like how small town shit is, man. People get to talking, you know what I mean. Next thing you know, it's like it's how people talking about this shit. So and then it was other people rapping in the area, and like it just became a thing, you know what I mean, where people automatically gonna make comparisons and what I mean, talk about who's the best and all that shit. And it was just something that I never really like I said, wanted to be a part of. But things like that really ain't your choice for real. It's just you just got to deal with what come with it and shit. I mean, would I say I didn't indulge in it at all? I can't really say that, because I definitely indulged in it at some point, because it was like it just became second nature. You know what I mean? It became like what was going on at the time. You know what I mean? That's where I was at. Like um, it wasn't really like no internet shit going on like that. I mean, it kind of was, but not to the degree it is now. Nowhere near that. I think MySpace might have, first started coming around that time and shit. So, that's how a lot of people around town was finding out too. I mean, they was seeing that shit on MySpace and shit. So like, just word of mouth in general. You know what I mean? So then, like it was good shit that came with it and bad shit that came with it, and everything in between. But it's just something, what I mean, that I never really wanted to be a part of. Because for one, I knew that I had a goal to make it up out of Dodge and shit. Like whether it be with music or whatever it took. You know what I mean? So fast forward, I'm probably like maybe shit. I say 4 or 5 years into rapping at this point. I was, doing a little more than rapping. I was, participating in some activities, what I mean, in the street, I guess you could say, and started getting in a little bit of trouble. Nothing too serious for real. Got put on probation and shit. And I just kind of like had to chill. What I mean, my PO was on my ass about getting a job and shit like that. I mean, I had my own means of getting bread and shit, but of course, she ain't know that. But shit wasn't really working out. What I mean, I'm working little temp jobs. I think I worked at Dunkin' Donuts for like 2 days and shit. So then, a partner of mine that I was, doing music with on the internet from South Carolina, had hit me and was like, yo, I'm about to do this show down here for charity and shit. It's my first time doing a show. I know you performed before. Like, you got any like words for me and shit? And I'm like, yeah, bro, just be well prepared and have fun and get the crowd involved and shit. So I was like, I wish I could be down there, rock with you and shit. And he's like, shit, come down here, bro. Like, come down here and rock with me. And like I said, I'm on, supervised probation. I'm like, man, I just like, I think I had just had beat the last little case I had and shit. Like I got found not guilty, but like I had potentially violated, like the probation I was already on with another charge. And I ain't trying to get too far from music, but it all kind of like play into like, how shit ended up and how I kind of escaped, the local rapper thing for real. So homeboy, had, it was like, come down there, you go down South Carolina, do your show and shit. And I'm like, man, like shit kind of tight with the bread and shit right now, man. I'm on probation. Like it's just like, kind of, bad times right now to be trying to, travel to another state on some music shit. And he's like, well, shit, like, if your PO will let you, I'll pay for you to get down here, on the Greyhound and shit. And I'm just like, damn, yo, like, what I mean? It was a good look for real. And normally, I'm like, too, I don't want to say I got too much pride, but I just don't allow, shit, people to, look out like that, especially people I don't really, be close with like that. And, at this point, this is somebody I just did music with on the internet. So, sending songs back and forth through the email and shit. And, so long story short, I tell my PO, like, I got an opportunity to, go do a show for charity in South Carolina. Like I was, wondering if I could have your permission to, go down there and do the show or whatever. And, she granted me the permission to do, granted me, she let me do it and shit. So, I go down there and do the show and we do the show and shit. And, it went really well, yo. You know what I mean? They showed a lot of love and shit. And I always have love for South Carolina for that, and then, I met some good people down there that, offered me a place to stay and, a way to, pay them for it and shit. So, I ended up, going down there. My PO marked me inactive, was like, just stay out of trouble. And, if you leave the state, let me know. Blah, blah, blah. So, I go down to South Carolina for a year and me and my mans, we started doing more shows and shit. I want to say, we probably did about a good 6-7 shows, and I think I was down there for like 10 months, 11 months or some shit. So damn near a year, and I think we probably did like 6-7 shows, and shit was going well. But it was like, it was real cool to like be somewhere where I wasn't from around there, so it was like I'm just another artist show. Like, I might catch a little more attention because, like everybody from South Carolina and they all, got the same accent and rap on the same type of beats. And then you got me coming from, a few states up and shit, with a different accent and rapping on different type beats and shit. So that might, catch a little attention. But other than that, it's like, shit, I ain't no local rapper, yo. So that shit was cool, man. And then, after I left South Carolina, I goes, straight back to Baltimore and shit because I had lived in Baltimore like a few years before all of this, but I had dipped, on some crazy shit, had happened with my peoples and shit. But I goes back to Baltimore after I leave South Carolina and shit, and that's where I'm at, for the next 15 years and shit. So to go back there, not originally be from there and shit, it's like I'm doing my thing with the music still, but it's like people just, run across me, meet me, and find out I rap, as opposed to people that already knew my whole life, find out I rap. And, it's like two totally different approaches to it, And it's like Baltimore bigger than where I'm from, so it's like, once again, I'm not a local rapper no more. And like, I just got addicted to that, yo. It's like, yo, I like being the underdog. I like, not being in the spotlight, yo. I'm not really a big spotlight person. Like, I mean, I want to do enough to get the attention that I need to get from the people that's going, genuinely support me and shit and enjoy the music and all that. But as far as like, the clout and the local fame and all that shit, like I never gave a fuck about none of that for real and still don't, man. It's nice to get love from, people's around your way and shit, of course, you know what I mean? It's like I got day ones, that still support me from home and shit. And it's love, man, because I knew it was love back then, so it's love now. But like, it was a lot of, love that turned into nothing, and you know what I mean. A lot of hate. You know what I mean. A lot of fake love and shit, even fake hate for real. You know what I mean. It come with all that shit, yo, and it's like it can come with that no matter where you at once you get to a certain point. But it's like you don't want to focus on none of that. So it's like when you indulge into that local scene, like you're gonna get a lot of that. Like, yeah, it'll be some cool shit, you know what I mean, for certain motherfuckers, you know what I mean, that, wanna, like I said, had a local fame and you know what I mean, claim that they get more females and you know what I mean, flexing and all that goofy ass shit. But rather than that though, it's like, man, I don't really, find I don't find nothing attractive about, trying to compete with people where I'm from, like, or compete with people in general, yo. It's like, I'm just trying to do me, man. I'm just trying to make good music that people enjoy and relate to and, enjoy myself while I'm doing it and, hopefully bring in, like, some good capital, at some point, yo. So, all that local rapper shit, man. It's like I don't knock people that want to take that lane because somebody gotta do it, man. You know what I mean? Somebody gotta be the king of the city or the king of the town or whatever. Like, man, shit, do you for real, yo? But it's like I just never. I can't say never because, like I said, man, I gotta keep it funky, yo. Like when I was younger, you know what I mean? Yeah, we trying to, be them boys in town for real. Like after a while, like once people get to start throwing you in there, but that was never like my original intent because I started off, collaborating with people from other cities and shit before I even started fucking around, you know what I mean, in town and shit, you know what I mean? It was like I started off collabing through the internet just like I do now for real. Like this was back in '04, like '05 I believe, some shit. But it's like once you go different places, man, and you realize that's like it can be love everywhere you go. Like I said, I did shows South Carolina, did a couple shows in Orlando, Florida, like did show in Toronto, you know what I mean? Did shows in Baltimore, of course. Like, you know what I mean? It's like shit shit can be cool wherever you at, yo. It's like, you know what I mean? It's really more so about you, like, than it is where you at, yo. And I just always been a motherfucker that wanted to travel, and outside of music, you know what I mean? But the fact that I can, tie this music shit into traveling, or music can be the reason that I travel, better yet, like, that's what a motherfucker really aiming for. Like, that's one of my main goals is like, just go on tour, yo, and you know what I mean? Fucking rap, yo, and all that good shit, man. But I'm just not with that local rapper shit, man. That's the moral of the story, yo. And that's really all I got on this one, man. Rich.